have one in my belly. It's XLR to male XLR. Is that what you want? Female to female. I have in my belly. I can go grab it if you want. I don't know where the other spares is. I'll go grab it. me know when you're ready to go. I'll wait. Hello, this is a lectern test, the future of energy security, London 2025, Lancaster House, hosted by UK Government, International Energy Agency. Lectern test, sync test, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you. Sure, would you like clapping or just chatting away? Sure. No problem, waiting for your time. Hello and a very warm welcome at Lancaster House for the Future of Energy Security, London 2025, hosted by UK Government and International Energy Agency. Testing the lectern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, check 1, 2, lectern check, 1, 2, 1, 2, check 1, 2. Do we have any comms down to the terrace, please? 1, 2, check 1, 2, 1, 2, check 1, 2, 1, 2, check 1, 2. BK, can you see that updated feed? Sorry? Louis, can you make the terrace light, please? Okay, check 1, 2, test 1, 2. Check 1, 2, test 1, 2. Yep. All right, guys.
Could I ask everyone to take a seat? The event is about to begin, so if everyone can try and find a seat, either at the back or on the side. So we're all ready to go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Summit on the Future of Energy Security. Now, my name is Francine Lacqua. I'll be your host for this live opening session. So we're here in central London, Lancaster House. It's pretty spectacular. The summit brings together ministers from every continent, as well as chief executives, and of course, leaders from every corner of the energy sector. We have around 60 countries, each endowed with different energy resources, facing different challenges, and pursuing their own pathways. Now, at the same time, each of you, of course, working together within this interconnected and interdependent energy system, and each has a common goal. You all want security, energy security for your citizens. Now, we have leaders from across the global energy system, interests and knowledge spanning all fuels, technology and sectors, power generators, grid operators, oil and gas producers, mining companies, traders, nuclear generators, uranium suppliers, tech providers, investors, and the list goes on. We have civil society, of course, academia, think tanks, all here to bring their perspective on how to shape the future of energy security. Now, later today, we'll also be joined by the UK Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, and President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. We hope that those of you online will also tune in for that at around 3:25 p.m. London time. We have the benefit, of course, of two amazing co-chairs that are going to guide us through every step of this important summit. So please join me in welcoming and showing your appreciation as we welcome to the stage our two co-chairs and the hosts of this summit, the Right Honourable Ed Miliband, Secretary of State of Energy Security and Net Zero in the UK government, and Dr. Fatih Birol, of course, the Executive Director of the International Energy Agency. So thank you both. Please join me on stage.
Thank you. Francine, thank you so much. And distinguished delegates, on behalf of the UK government and the International Energy Agency, I want to welcome you all to this historic setting of Lancaster House and to London for this first global summit on the future of energy security. As Francine has said, there are numerous countries represented here, almost 60 countries represented here today, and I want to thank each and every one of you who have made the trip here. We truly appreciate your presence, and we really look forward to the discussions over the coming 2 days. We also have leaders from more than 50 global businesses with us, and I want to thank all of you for everything you do to help create energy security for our countries and our world. And we also have NGOs and civil society groups from around the world who are here with us, who play an important role in ensuring accountability of governments. I also want to pay a specific thank you to the official partners of the summit, Iberdrola, Scottish Power, National Grid, SSE and Urenco. And if I may, I want to also thank the teams at the International Energy Agency and across the UK government who have worked incredibly hard to pull this event together. It is some feat of organisation. And I want, if I may, also to pay a particular tribute to Fatih Birol. Fatih, your leadership of the IEA for more than a decade now has been marked by your commitment to rigour, to values and to multilateral cooperation, and that is why the IEA is so central to the global discussion on energy. And I want to thank you, and perhaps the audience could show our appreciation for Fatih and the work he does. So you've got much more interesting people than me to hear from in these coming sessions, but let me make a few remarks to frame our discussions over the next 2 days. First, our starting point for this summit is that in an unstable and uncertain world, there can be no national or international security without energy security. And indeed, it is now more than 50 years since the IEA was founded in response to the oil crisis of 1973. Over that time, the challenges we face have changed, but I think the principle underpinning the IEA's work, that countries need to collaborate to secure the uninterrupted supply of energy at an affordable price, remain the same. And in the years since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we've been reminded in the UK, and indeed across Europe and the world, of a simple truth, that as long as energy can be weaponized against us, our countries and our citizens are vulnerable and exposed. It's for this reason that energy security is also at the heart of economic security, because it is central to living standards, job creation, and economic growth. And we hope this summit marks an important moment for countries to come together and discuss what the shifting global landscape means for how we deliver energy security in this era. Second, the act of bringing together, which is an initiative that I've taken alongside Fatih and the IEA, I think stems from an underlying belief that can unite us all, which is there is huge benefit for us from cooperating on the basis of our shared interests. I think it's really important to say every country faces its own energy security challenges and its own constraints. And each country will pursue its own pathway, following its national interest in securing its energy supplies. Different pathways, and I think this is a really important point for this conference, different pathways for different nations should be respected. And we will all get a chance to reflect on our different national circumstances in our discussions over the coming days. But here is the key thing. Whatever our national pathways, I do believe that we share a fundamental belief that shared challenges invite shared solutions. Multilateral cooperation can make us stronger, not weaker, in our own individual national interest. Third point. Hopefully this is also a uniting idea. I believe that we gathered here are the optimists about what we can achieve for our society. Business, government, civil society. I believe we are, in this energy sector, the optimists. Abundant energy can raise living standards, economic growth, and deliver for today's and future generations of citizens. For the UK, just to talk about us for a moment, there is an exciting vision of energy security and abundance from cheap, homegrown, low-carbon power. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we saw family finances, business finances, and public finances wrecked as fossil fuel prices rocketed on the global markets and therefore here in Britain. Now, oil and gas, including from our North Sea, will continue to play an important role in our energy system, and we really value our industry and the jobs it supports. But as with many other countries, we're a price taker, not a price maker in international fossil fuel markets. So our vision of low-carbon power goes well beyond the climate imperative, important as that is. Homegrown low-carbon power is our nationally chosen route to energy security. Solar power, wind power, tidal, geothermal, nuclear power, also an essential part of the low-carbon opportunity. These are often unlimited, low-cost power supplies which we can exploit for the benefit of our citizens. So, to be clear about this, ours is a hard-headed approach to the role of low-carbon power as the route to energy security. And I believe this isn't just true for the UK. Alongside a continuing and important role for oil and gas, low-carbon energy can play a critical role in delivering energy security for many countries around the world. And it presents a solution to the issue of energy security that simply wasn't true in the same way as a decade and a half ago. And this, again, is important. And that's because of what many countries in this room working with business, public and private sector together, have achieved. The cost of solar globally has fallen by 90% since 2010, offshore wind by more than 60%. That's in part why last year $2 trillion was invested in clean energy, with 80% of new electricity generation met by renewables and nuclear. Indeed, according to BNEF, for more than two-thirds of the world's population, new renewables are the cheapest source of bulk power generation. In this spirit of multilateralism, the UK is determined to work with others to accelerate this transition, including through our global Clean Power Alliance, which the Prime Minister launched at the G20 last year. Final point. Let me finish by saying that at a time when so much of what is happening in the world looks so intractable, I hope we can carry this spirit of optimism into our deliberations. And I hope genuinely that everyone here enjoys this event and your time in London. I want to end with the following message from His Majesty the King that he has asked me to read out to you all, because this summit is something that he was very much personally interested in. And this is the message from King Charles. As we all navigate the transition to cleaner energy for our planet and energy security for our citizens, summits such as these are of vital importance in facilitating shared learning between nations, particularly those in the global south and across the Commonwealth. Events over recent years have shown that when well managed, the transition to more sustainable energy sources can itself lead to more resilient and secure energy systems. While each country will follow its individual path, there are many shared challenges and opportunities on which we can work together as partners. And he ends by saying, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for participating in this summit on the future of energy security, and to send my warmest, best wishes for productive discussions over the coming days. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your attendance, and now it's my huge privilege to introduce the Executive Director of the IEA, Dr. Fatih Birol.
Thank you very much. This is really a pleasure. Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure and honor for me to welcome you to the International Summit of the Future of Energy Security in London today. Very many thanks to the Prime Minister Starmer and Minister Miliband for hosting us here. And thank you very much for agreeing to co-host this very important event. Dear colleagues, recent years have shown us that the energy security shouldn't be taken for granted. Many events. Remember the times of COVID, Russia's invasion of Ukraine and resulting issues, energy security issues, the developments in the Middle East, extreme weather events, cyber attacks on energy infrastructure around the world. They do remind us regularly that energy security is and looks like will be a crucial issue in the global agenda. While we acknowledge energy security from these angles to be crucial, there is one issue that I wanted to share with you, a bit forgotten from time to time, namely energy security of the people who have no access to energy today. IEA has been pioneering the very fact that today 750 million people around the world have no access to electricity. More than 2 billion people have no access to clean cooking and using wood, animal waste, agricultural waste for cooking, with huge implications. These are critical issues for the global energy security if you look at it. And of course, in many countries, including in some advanced countries, affordability of energy also appears to be a very important topic. In this context, we thought it is important to bring governments around the world together to discuss on these topics. And last August 2024, we have officially announced that we are organizing such a summit here in London with the great courtesy of the UK government, especially with my colleague, with my friend at Miliband. Dear colleagues, we have, as Mr. Miliband mentioned, we have some 60 governments from all continents. I think this itself is an important statement of how crucial energy security is, especially if you consider that the times we are in are the times of geopolitical fragmentation, rather than countries are working so closer together, if we have to be frank to ourselves. In this geopolitical context, bringing 60 governments together, as well as 50 business leaders all around the world, is something noteworthy in my view. Dear colleagues, energy security, for us, for the IEA, we have two broad group of energy security risks we see. One, traditional energy security risks. We all know, we have experienced since decades several oil and gas supply disruptions around the world. Oil and gas are key parts of our energy mix, and they will remain as part of the energy mix years to come. Recent events show us once again how important the oil and gas supply security is. I'll give you two examples. Again, after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, oil markets went through very difficult times. And in order to avoid a major supply disruption, International Energy Agency released oil stocks from its reserves to comfort the markets for the benefit of all. The same applied to natural gas, especially with the European countries. I am sure the Commissioner Dan Jorgensen here with us in the afternoon. We will have President von der Leyen. They will mention IEA and European countries work together to avoid a major energy crisis in Europe, especially the lack of availability of gas as the Russian gas was cut. So this is one part of the energy security risk we see. It is with us, it will be with us. But, dear colleagues, there is another emerging energy security risk, which is coming from the different angle. A remarkable story in the last few years is the very strong expansion of clean, advanced energy technologies. If you look at the numbers, what we do IEA all the time, and I tell my colleagues, data always wins. Sometimes it takes some time, but at the end it always wins. So when we look at the data, last year, of all power plants installed in the world, about 85% were renewables. Solar, wind, hydropower, 5% nuclear power. Look at the other angle, transportation sector. We are seeing the big increase of electric cars globally. It changes from one country to another, but there is a strong increase, and according to our data, again, today, 1 out of 4 cars sold in the world is an electric car. It's a big change compared to several years ago. And it will go in this direction very strongly. So what is the problem? The problem is the following, the energy security challenge, because they do themselves help to address the energy security. As Mr. Secretary of State mentioned, homegrown energy is the best friend of energy security. But to produce, to manufacture these new clean energy technologies, we need critical minerals. Mining, production of critical minerals, and manufacturing these clean energy technologies, when we look at this, where the critical minerals are produced, where they are refined, and where they are manufacturing, there is a huge concentration. And this is something that we think is risky. Wherever the concentration is, it is a risky business. There can be some event in terms of the geopolitical event. There can be an earthquake, there can be a technical failure. This is always risky, this concentration. And this is something that the IEA considers a new emerging energy security challenge in addition to the traditional one. So it is the reason we have built a critical minerals program, and we are, as our gas market report, oil market report, we are regularly informing the world what is happening in different critical minerals. Their demand, their supply, mining, investment prices, to bring transparency to the world. But this is another challenge that we wanted to underline, and it makes us, this concentration, vulnerable our energy security system. So these are the two challenges I think we will look today and tomorrow. The challenge of the established traditional energy security, oil and gas, and the second, the challenge emerging from the critical minerals and the supply chains. Now, against that, and I want to finish with this, I have 3 golden rules to address energy security. There are many of them, but 3 of them I wanted to share with you. Number 1 golden rule is diversification. Diversification of the energy sources, diversification of the countries you import energy, diversification of the trade routes or supply chains. Not to put all the eggs in one basket, because the geopolitical situation can change, technical failures can create problems. I would say this is the first golden rule for me, diversification. The second one is predictability. Dear colleagues, energy sector is a bit different than the other sectors of the economy. It requires huge investments with the project's long lead times. And if the policies are not predictable, they change from one day to another, it creates uncertainty, and as such it increases the cost of capital. And this is a major problem. And it is a major problem for investors, and the unpredictable economies lead the investors fly away. So this is the second golden rule for me after the diversification, predictability. Third and the last is the cooperation. Mr. Miliband mentioned perfectly, and I completely agree. Every country has its own pathway for energy, based on their economies, natural resources, political context, and others. We should understand and respect it. However, dear colleagues, no country, small or big, is an energy island. We are interconnected, interdependent on through many ways. Through energy prices, they are international. Through emissions, they are global. Through technological innovation, they are global. We are interconnected. So lasting solutions to energy security, in my view, goes through cooperation. And saying cooperation, it is in fact the very reason we host this meeting today. We have many oil exporters, huge oil exporters, gas exporters. We have several renewable companies from businesses and countries. We have several countries with huge critical mineral resources, lithium, nickel, copper. We bring everybody together, hope to have a common understanding about our energy challenges, and that we all understand the need to cooperate, which is good for all of us. As such, I want to thank once again the government of United Kingdom, and we were honored with agreeing the co-host with the IEA, Mrs. Secretary of State, and we were also honored with the letter of the King Charles. Thank you very much for that, and I wish all of us a very good conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Birol. I'd love now to actually ask our co-chairs to take their seats back in the audience as we move into the first plenary session of the day. So, dear ministers and distinguished guests, we move to the first order of the day. We both have a fast-moving energy sector and a fast-moving world around it. And how do we shape an approach to energy security that is actually fit for now, but also fit for the future? One that ensures that traditional risks are not ignored, but also that new risks and new opportunities are recognized, understood, and also acted upon. So we'll have a little bit more of a holistic approach to what energy security is, from oil and gas security to the age of electricity, critical minerals to technology supply chains, energy access, affordability to economic competitiveness, climate security, cyber security, and beyond. So this in mainly two ways. First, a whole of energy system approach that maps the interconnections and interdependencies, and second, trying to position this energy security in the broader security context. So the objectives of this next session are to share pretty diverse perspectives on the meaning, first of all, of energy security, looking from now into the long term, position energy security with a broader security context, and also discuss some of the possible principles to guide some real concrete energy context. So the session will be composed of two high-level panels, with each complemented by short interventions from the floor. So let's invite the opening panel now to the stage. Please give them a warm welcome, as I do, Her Excellency Ms. Sara Agason-Munoz, the third Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of the Ecological Transition and the Demographic Challenge from Spain. Thank you. Iraq's Deputy Prime Minister for Energy Affairs and Minister of Oil, His Excellency Mr. Hayyan Abdalghani. His Excellency Mr. Karim Badawi, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources of Egypt. His Excellency Dato Sri Fadila, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Energy Transition and Water Transformation of Malaysia. His Excellency Mr. Edwin Palma Ejea, Minister of Mines and Energy of Colombia. So thank you all for joining us. I'm looking forward to all of your insights and the panel. So Deputy Prime Minister, let me start with you. Spain has set these ambitious targets to reduce energy dependence, increasing the share of renewables. So how do you go about ensuring this coherent system-wide approach, given all the challenges that could also bring up?
Thank you. Good morning, and first, thank you very much for government UK, Minister Miliband, and of course, dear Fatih. Thank you for organizing this very. I think this is
Let me see, you have.
This is a clear example on how you were mentioning, both of you, how important is multilateral cooperation. This is a clear example of multilateral cooperation. So, indeed, in Spain, from the very beginning, we've been working hard in order to deliver high standards with clear goals and policies. And what we want is to ensure just and inclusive transition. And the reality that we are facing, our example, is that sustainability, security, and competitiveness are not a trilemma, are a clear opportunity in my country, in Spain. And I would like just to make real this opportunity. There are like 5 main pillars I would like to mention. Probably I will need one day to explain what we are doing in Spain, but 5 main pillars will be: we have anticipation and planning. This is one of the main issues we need to have. The second one is holistic approach. As Fatih Birol was mentioning, we have different threats, different elements that we need to address. So we need to have this holistic approach. The third one is cooperation at European level, but also globally. And social dimension for us has been very important and part of a success story in my country. And lastly, but it's also very important, innovation. And going to the first building block, that is the planning and anticipation, means certainty for investors, certainty for the civil society, means preparedness, means also anticipation in order to maximize all the full potential of this transition. And for that reason, we put in place the planning with short, medium, and long run. So we have the vision for 2030 and 2050, and with core elements like renewable energy. This is one of the core elements in our strategy, of course, but also energy efficiency, new vectors that will be needed in order to fulfill this decarbonization in 2050, which is a clear goal in Europe and globally. And of course, all those elements are very important for energy security in my country. And this is about planning, but the holistic approach is addressing different elements, as were mentioned before, like critical raw materials, technologies, resilient infrastructures. We also think, how is the link between energy, electricity at affordable prices and industry? So we put in place all those elements together. The third element, which is EU collaboration and global collaboration, is very important. We are under the fantastic umbrella of the European Union. Here is the Commissioner. And we work side by side with our EU colleagues and the European Commission. We have regulation, actions, measures, but we have something that is very powerful, that is solidarity among ourselves. And that's very important. And again, globally, I think it's very important to find trust partners globally for diversification, that was mentioned as well. And one important element I just want to stress now is the social dimension. Social dimension means broad participation with all stakeholders, with business sector and civil society. We also have a just transition strategy. We put in place one specific element that for me it's part of the success story that we have in Spain, is that we make a socio-economic impact of all the planning and measures. That means that we know what is the impact in job creation, in equality, in economic growth, in health benefits. So we analyze those co-benefits in order to deliver our strategy. And just one minor message, not minor, important one, but the last one, I think we are in a very important momentum where all energy transition needs to be aligned with science and needs to be aligned with 1.5 degrees. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. I'm sorry to rush everyone. We're tight for time, so it's only a couple of minutes and then we'll get back. Let's now turn to the Deputy Prime Minister of Iraq. Your Excellency, of course, the energy sector has been central to Iraq, providing vital revenues. Now with rising temperatures, that's stressing the system. There's increased demand for energy for cooling. How is Iraq looking to balance this changing equation of energy?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. موضوع التحول في الطاقة نفسه يحتاج إلى حقيقة إلى طاقة في مجالات التعدين والإنتاج وبناء الأصول للطاقة الجديدة. يعني كما تعلمون الوقود الأحفوري سيبقى ولا يعني مستمر، يعتبر من أهم مصادر توليد الطاقة في العالم. كذلك يعني لهذا الوقود الأحفوري يعني لديه هنالك ظاهرة يعني ممكن أن تعانيه الطاقة المتجددة من ظاهرة التقطعية أو الموسمية بالاعتماد على البيئة والمناخ الطبيعي. نحن في العراق نعتمد يعني اقتصاد البلد يعتمد بشكل رئيسي على إنتاج النفط الخام باعتباره مصدر رئيسي لموارد الدولة العراقية من جهة، وباعتباره أيضا كمصدر رئيسي لتوليد الطاقة الكهربائية في العراق. الطاقة الكهربائية التي يتم توليدها في العراق تعتمد بشكل رئيسي وكبير على النفط الخام. أنا من أوضح النفط الخام هو النفط زائدا مشتقات النفط والغاز المصاحب. معظم الغاز الذي ينتج في العراق هو غاز مصاحب لإنتاج النفط الخام، لذلك يعني عملنا كثيرا من أجل تعزيز وزيادة إنتاج الغاز، باعتبار أنه الغاز هو اعتبر في مؤتمرات المناخ في كوب 28 في أبو ظبي هو الوقود الانتقالي في هذه المرحلة، ولذلك في العراق أخذنا بنظر الاعتبار ذلك كثيرا، ويعني وضعت خطة مدروسة لتحويل معظم محطات الطاقة الكهربائية من النفط الخام إلى الغاز، وهذا ما تقوم عليه الحكومة الآن. كذلك يعني التزمت الحكومة ضمن برنامجها الحكومي إلى بناء محطات لتوليد الطاقة الكهربائية باستخدام الطاقة الشمسية، وتعهد العراق ضمن خطته بتوليد ما يزيد على 12,000 ميجا واط باعتماد الطاقة الشمسية. وإن شاء الله يعني أخذنا هذا احنا بشكل جدي في وزارة النفط، وإن شاء الله خلال هذه السنة مع نهاية هذه السنة سيتم افتتاح أول مشروع للطاقة الشمسية بقدرة 250 ميجا واط. هذا سيتم تنفيذه من خلال شركة عقد جنوب العراق المتكامل اللي هو موقع مع شركة توتال الفرنسية. هذا العقد الذي يتضمن 4 مشاريع رئيسية، إضافة إلى إنتاج النفط الخام من حقل أحد الحقول اللي هو حقل أرطاوي. هنالك 3 فعاليات رئيسية في هذا المشروع، أحدها هي وأهمها هي استثمار الغاز في 5 حقول نفطية يتم حرق الغاز فيها حاليا، والحمد لله تم إحالة يعني التعاقد مع إحدى الشركات لتنفيذ المرحلة الأولى باستثمار 300 مليون قدم مكعب من الغاز من هذه المحطة من هذه الحقول ال5، إضافة إلى استخدام إنشاء محطة للطاقة الشمسية بطاقة 1000 ميجا واط، الذي ذكرت بأن خلال نهاية هذه السنة سيتم افتتاح المرحلة الأولى منعتها ب250، إضافة إلى اعتماد مشروع لحقن ماء لتوفير ماء الحقن بهدف دعم الضغوط المكمنية باعتماد مياه البحر، وهذه أول مرة في العراق تستخدم هكذا تقنية لحقن الماء في المكامن النفطية لدعم الضغط المكمني وتوفير ما يعادلها من الماء الصالح للشرب حقيقة أو مياه الأنهر لاستخدامها للأغراض البشرية والزراعة. وبالتالي فنحن نعتبر مشروع جنوب العراق المتكامل مع الموقع مع شركة توتال هو مشروع بيئي بامتياز، باعتبار أنه يوقف حرق الغاز في 5 حقول نفطية، إضافة إلى استخدام الطاقة الشمسية واستخدام مياه البحر بدلا من المياه العذبة لأغراض الدعم المكمني. هذا من ناحية. من ناحية أخرى في العراق يعني أخذنا كثير من يعني التحوطات فيما يخص المناخ، ما فرض على العراق في مؤتمر باريس تخفيض الانبعاثات الحرارية بنسبة 2%، ولكن الحمد لله يعني استطاع العراق أن يحقق ذلك خلال فترة أقل من سنتين، وإن شاء الله مع الفترة التي وضعت للعراق لتخفيض هذه النسبة اللي هي في 2030 سيتم تخفيض الانبعاثات الحرارية بنسبة تزيد على 23% إن شاء الله من خلال المشاريع التي وقعت لذلك إن شاء الله.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Deputy Prime Minister. So I think everyone should be set with translation, and also a reminder that you should have a microphone actually next to you. Now, turning to Mr. Badawi, Your Excellency, you're approaching a one-year anniversary in office with many advances and changes in the energy scene. Can you please highlight the Egypt oil and gas sector strategy to support the future energy security, but also being conscious about environmental and climate constraints? And you have a couple of minutes.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Fatih, for the invitation, for being here, and thank you for the co-chair, your esteemed, Minister, for hosting the event here. So, first of all, it's a great pleasure, great honor to be with such esteemed, panelists today. So, it's a great honor. So, for Egypt, really, you will see that the theme is really all about, energy, security, energy partnership, collaboration. And also, what I firmly believe in is how do we work together to unlock, all the subsurface potential for the benefit, of our partners, for their shareholders, and for our people, at the same time. And that is all about a win-win, value proposition. So for Egypt and in the Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, we have 6 really main pillars, right, that we are focusing around. And I'll be very brief around those 6, and maybe we'll give some examples later on. But the first one is really how we can really focus on providing the petroleum products, right, for the people of Egypt, people who are living in Egypt, which is 120 million, people, in that market, and also to make that energy, also petroleum available for the people as well in the region, and also our partners, around the globe. And to do that, we really have to focus on production, right, in terms on the upstream front, in terms on how we can improve, the production from our existing fields, and how we can really unlock future reserves to be added into the production through promoting, more exploration activity. And this is really, we are focused in terms on how do we make that happen by helping our partners. And I always tell to our partners to help us, and how we can really unlock leveraging technology, how we can unlock having the right, fiscal regime, how we can have the right economics, which actually work for our partners, for their shareholders, and hence really for unlocking that subsurface potential. The second key pillar for us is how do we really unlock the potential from all the infrastructure which exists in Egypt in the petrochemical sector, in the refinery sector, in also our export of gas terminals, sector. And we have a huge, internal pipeline for crude, distribution, for gas distribution, and so forth. So essentially, how do we fully utilize this infrastructure, not only for the people of Egypt, but also for the people in the region? And again, not only based on our local production in terms on oil and gas, but actually how we can really leverage, the inflow of gas and crude from other parts of the world, and fully utilize, this infrastructure for the benefit of the region. Then the third element is really on the mineral front, and this was also explained today as one of the key elements in terms on risks and potential for the future. So the mining sector is a sector that we are really focusing on, how we can unlock that full potential by really making, Egypt investable and, and very attractive to be able to unlock that potential. Today it's only 1% of the GDP. We want to make it 5-6%, and we're actively working on that through regulatory framework, predictability, infrastructure. The fourth key pillar, which is very important for us, is the energy mix. And this was also mentioned today as part of diversification. And this is where we're working very closely with the Ministry of Electricity and Renewable Energy to make sure that we actually do not depend only on gas for our power stations, but really we've increased the target to have 42% of renewable energy as part of our energy mix by 2030. And this will really kind of help us unlock not only diversification of energy mix, but also to prepare also for the green energy of the future, green hydrogen, green ammonia, and so forth through the energy, through green energy. The fifth pillar, which is very, very important, is nothing can be done without having, the focus on people. and hence focus on health and safety of the people who are working in the sector and on the periphery is very important, how they can come and work safely, how they can go back to their family and friends safely, and the environment, how we can leave also an environment which is also for future generations, and hence how we can work on the environment and energy efficiency. Last but not least is the sixth pillar, which is on regional collaboration. Regional collaboration is absolutely very critical to unlock the full potential, not only for Egypt based on the infrastructure that it has for the Egyptian people and so forth, but really for the people of the region. And there are many examples in terms of collaboration with regional partners to be able to unlock that full potential, whether in terms of connectivity with gas, such as what we're doing, for example, with Cyprus, interconnection of grids, right, such as what we're doing with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or in terms of interconnections with Europe, in terms with Greece and with Italy. So many opportunities for regional collaborations. So those are the 6 key pillars that we're revolving around, and then we'd be more than happy to share more examples on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister. So the Deputy Prime Minister will speak through translation, so please get your headsets ready. Now, Your Honourable Datu Sri Fadila, as you seek to build and transform your energy sector, ensuring that it provides affordable energy for your citizens, how are you also balancing energy security, economic growth, but also environmental sustainability priorities?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excellencies, thank you, Mr. Fatih, Mr. Miliband, Minister Miliband. Ladies and gentlemen, in the context of Malaysia, actually, what was said by Mr. Fatih, the 3 elements that we are focusing on. One is on clarity in terms of our policies, the diversification perspective, and also to make sure that in terms of policies and strategies, we are clear in terms of moving ahead. In order to achieve that, we have our energy policy, and through energy policy, we have introduced what we call the National Energy Transformation Roadmap. That's where we focus on how to make sure that we have secured in terms of electricity supply throughout not only Malaysia, but also within the region. The cooperation within the region and so on will be one of the focus areas that we're looking at. In terms of commitment for the trilemma, one is affordability, security, and also in terms of environment sustainability, that is clearly spelled out in our National Energy Transformation Roadmap. In order to do that, what we have formed is we have set up a committee, what we call the Implementation and Planning Committee for Electricity at High Level between agencies and ministries. This is the committee will decide in terms of planning the energy requirement, the future energy requirement, and the tariff and so on. It's all planned in that area. What will be the energy mix for the future? So this what we call JPET. This committee actually ensures the electricity planning and also incorporate also the renewable energy requirement and also energy penetration, the grid modernization, and also tariff reform for those less in terms of to promote affordability, efficiency, and also sustainability. In the context of cooperation, we're looking also, we have introduced what we call the ENIGEM and also the ASEAN Power Grid. We are chairing chair of the ASEAN this year. So our focus will be on ASEAN Power Grid. This is where we have cooperation among ASEAN region, because within the ASEAN region, there'll be the need in terms of supporting each other. There are times that some of the member states will be having access in terms of electricity. This is where they can export it out. So our focus this year will be to come up with a regulation and also to study from all the other parts of the world how we can increase in terms of improve our energy exchange program among the member states. So this will be one of the focus areas that we're looking at. And hopefully by doing that, we'll be able to achieve, number one, security, at the same time, affordability in terms of the electricity supply among member states and cooperation among all the member states, among, in particular, the ASEAN member states. So this the way forward as far as Malaysia is concerned. And we hope by doing that, we'll be able to make sure that not only Malaysia, but we also can contribute towards our commitment to clean energy for the future generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Now, turning to Colombia now, and for the benefit of the audience, the minister, I believe, will respond in Spanish. Colombia is navigating, of course, the need to ensure energy security and affordable tariffs while advancing a just people-centered energy transition. So how is the government addressing these interconnected challenges in energy policy?
Bueno, muy buenos días para todos y todas. Un saludo muy especial al gobierno del Reino Unido, al ministro Miliband. Es muy importante este encuentro para el Reino Unido después del Brexit, para la Unión Europea en medio de esta tensión arancelaria mundial y obviamente para Latinoamérica, de donde vengo, más aún ahora con nuestro presidente de la República al frente de la CELAC, que reúne a todos los países de América Latina y el Caribe. Nosotros quiero empezar por allí, es decir, experimentamos hoy el primer gobierno progresista de la historia del país, que ha puesto en el centro de la discusión política el tema de la democratización de la energía, poniendo en el centro de esa política a los usuarios. Es decir, como se ha planteado aquí, hay millones de usuarios, no solamente en nuestro país, sino en la región y en el mundo, que hoy carecen de energía. Pero el sistema eléctrico colombiano, el sistema energético colombiano históricamente ha estado de espalda a los usuarios. Por eso este gobierno ha planteado desde su programa de gobierno una gran apuesta por acelerar la transición energética, es decir, por desplazar los combustibles fósiles e incorporar una matriz energética limpia para poder abaratar además los costos de energía en un país en el que muchos usuarios del servicio de energía eléctrica tienen que escoger entre comer o pagar la factura de la energía eléctrica. Y olvidando que incluso el derecho a la energía hoy es un derecho humano y debe estar reconocido así, incluso está reconocido así dentro de los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible de las Naciones Unidas. Quiero también señalar, como se sabe, Colombia está en el corazón de Latinoamérica, es decir, en el centro de Latinoamérica, y es una gran potencialidad, como lo ha señalado también nuestro presidente, para desatar grandes cantidades de energías renovables, de energías limpias. Tenemos grandes potencialidades alrededor del agua, alrededor del aire, alrededor del sol y también de minerales estratégicos, como aquí se ha señalado, para profundizar en la transición energética. Entonces, en medio de esta convulsión mundial, quiero señalarles, Colombia como corazón de Latinoamérica es el futuro, incluso para el Reino Unido y para la Unión Europea, insisto, en medio de esta convulsión política que se ha desatado hoy en el mundo y que obviamente atraviesa los temas de energía, porque como lo ha señalado también y lo señaló ahorita nuestro presidente al recibir la presidencia de la CELAC, el tema energético, el tema de la interconexión, el tema de la conectividad entre países, que aquí se ha puesto de presente, está atravesado por un factor fundamental y es la cooperación. Solos los países, encerrándose los países, no vamos a solucionar los problemas de la seguridad energética en el mundo. Tiene que haber cooperación, solidaridad, unidad. Y por eso quiero invitarles a que miren a Colombia y miren a Latinoamérica como esa gran potencialidad para desarrollar grandes cantidades de energía limpia, para desarrollar no solamente la descarbonización del norte del mundo, sino también para una gran economía alrededor de la economía verde, de la economía alrededor de la transición energética. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much. Now, I'd love to invite actually some people also from the private sector, from the floor, to give their reaction, their perspective on the topic of the session. You just have a couple of minutes each because we are running a little bit behind schedule. But first of all, it's turn to, of course, the executive chairman of Iberdrola, José Ignacio Sánchez Galán, for your perspective.
So thank you very much, and thank you for having this opportunity of sharing my thoughts with such distinguished guests. So I think most of the things I was planning to say has been said. So, but I would like to reinforce some message. The first one is the electrification is unstoppable. So today, electrification, in these normal words, means energy security and means national security. And I insist, it's not my word. His word has been said by the Secretary of Energy of the United States in the recent summit in CETA Week in Houston. And why? Major inventions in the second half of the 20th century are electricals. So the dependence of electricity in our lives every time is more and more. That makes the electricity demand, that's something with Fatih is already insisting all the time, is growing worldwide. But more than growing exists a high latent demand that we cannot serve in all countries. And we cannot serve because we need more networks infrastructure. So that is worldwide. I think we've been, for years, I think we've been involved in this sector for 25 years. We've been already making this energy transition, transforming our coal and oil power plant into renewables for many years. But I think it's not enough power. It's needed grids, it's needed networks to already take this electricity. So we have to invest much, much more in transmission and distribution networks to provide access to these new consumption drivers. Drivers, who has been mentioned, electric vehicles, heat pumps, data centers, etc., etc., etc. And also, of course, we need more power. So, but not power, which kind of power? Is very good when I've already heard today. Each country or region have to use with priority their own resources. So to maximize their energy independence which means energy security, and to improve their competitiveness and to take already to make in a better manner as possible to minimize emissions. So I think that requires massive investment. So to mobilize this massive investment will require, has been said as well, a predictable regulatory frameworks. I think the unpredictability or unstable regulatory frameworks means more cost, means not attractiveness for the capital to be invested. We need the legislation not only to accelerate permitting. I think you are doing very good things here in this country for trying to accelerate this process, but as well to avoid litigation. So it's not enough permitting, it's to make the legislation in a manner where the litigation will be avoided, because that delay all the process of construction. And to make already a tax environment attractive, as well you are doing here in this country, you try to do. We will discuss about that later on. I think I would like to say, I mentioned Britain because that, in our opinion, is a good example of what has been already been done. So it's a very clear plan to promote private investment in the sector, in networks, in power. They are trying to simplify permitting processes and make the things in an attractive manner, even already convincing regulators to do the things in a way which should be attractive. As well, the European Union, Commissioner, I think you are doing a great job with the clean industrial deal as well. But I think my point is now you have to hurry up the member state to already to translate into local legislation. So, Sarah, so you have work to be done. So also in the United States, I think they are clear plan in the same direction. So, and I think just finished. Sorry, I know they need short in time. So we, Birol, we are the largest European company for market cap. We are the second largest worldwide, and we are the largest investor in Europe in this energy transition. We are investing more than 14 billion per annum, which only in UK in the next 5 years is 24 billion committed with yourself, so which I think is a part of our thing. And same thing doing in other countries. So, but my point is stability, predictability, rule of law, and trying to avoid already legislation which permit another one to make litigated. And I think in this basis, the capital will be already rise and can be invested in different countries. Thank you, and sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gillen. Let's turn now to Ben Wilson, President of National Grid Ventures. Mr. Wilson, I'll ask you to be fairly short, otherwise the IEA won't have me back.
Yes, thank you, and congratulations to the UK government and the IEA on this very important summit, really to emphasise the essential nature of grids, as has been commented on, dealing with the energy trilemma, and the need to develop a capacity-rich electric system to help us meet our challenges. So we need to build and upgrade grids as a priority, onshore and offshore, so we can connect new clean technologies, that we can electrify and digitalise the economy. and that we can deal with the increase in demand growth from AI, reindustrialization, EVs and heat pumps, and give people access to affordable clean energy. So in the UK here, we are calling it the Great Grid Upgrade. And in both the UK and the US, we are investing $75 billion over the next 5 years in upgrading grids. The challenges we need to deal with, long-term system planning to give us the signals to invest, permitting, as has been mentioned, speedy and certain permitting, supporting the supply chain so that they can build capacity, so giving the supply chain certainty and transparency, creating the right regulatory arrangements that allow us to invest ahead of need. And I will congratulate the UK government on the initiatives that it's undertaking in all these spaces. And then lastly, increasing international cooperation, as mentioned by Dr. Birol, and I would highlight in particular the importance of cooperation between the UK, Norway and the European Union. If we get all this right, we can deliver a secure, affordable and clean energy system. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson. Let's turn to the president of IMPEX, Takaju Ueda. There you are, sir. We'll get a microphone. And you have maximum 2 minutes. I'm sorry.
Maximum 2 minutes. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. My name is Ueda from IMPEX Corporation. It's a Japanese energy company. First thing I'd like to mention is about the kind of my recognition about energy landscape or energy policy priorities. Now we talked about trilemmas and transitions. However, now there seems to be a lot of discrepancies, especially among industrial countries, seems to be increasing, especially regarding the climate change issues. So I think every country has now the different priorities in energy policies. So I believe that we are now living in a world where kind of common understanding about the issues, common understanding about the energy landscape or priorities when it seems to be fading out or actually decreasing. So how to rebuild such kind of energy policies seems to be a very important job. I think the energy security issues, I think, proposed by IEA Secretariat and Fatih Birol seems to be very much important initiatives at this moment. And with regard to the principles that lead the energy policies, I think I would like to echo with the 3 principles that was proposed by Dr. Birol's diversifications and cooperations. And, with regard to these principles, I'd like to also mention the importance, emphasize the importance of continued investment in energy sectors, including the oil and gas, nuclear, renewables, and so forth. But you should understand that to make an investment in energy sector usually requires a lot of massive capital investment and long times. And therefore, the principles of predictability is of course important, especially for the private company's point of view. I think when we will make an investment decision that is called final investment decision, FID, we will make an FID based on the business environment at that moment, including regulatory framework, taxation, and so forth. Therefore, if changes to these rules take place after the FID, that will really have the undermine the mindset of private companies for the investment. Therefore, I would like to emphasize the principle that please don't move the goalpost after the game started. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Ueda. Lastly, from the floor, let me turn to the Chief Executive Officer of the South African utility company Eskom, Dan Moracone. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I just want to start off by giving apologies on behalf of my ministers who could not be here. Just from a very high-level point of view, in South Africa, Eskom still remains responsible for 80% of the electricity supply, dominantly from coal. The transition is very much acute in our space. We have, and we've had very serious load supply interruptions in the last 3 years that are known worldwide. We have made tremendous progress in terms of the recovery of the operating fleet by focusing on maintenance programs, at the same time introducing reforms that accelerates renewable energy programs. Recently, we have gone very public with respect to investment, opening up investment opportunities for transmission line expansion to ensure that we can connect very distal and peripheral sources of renewable energy. Having said this, the challenge that the country still faces pertains to funding for the transition. We have only pledges to less than 40% of what is required for us to transition very responsibly in an area that is filled with very high unemployment rates and economic deprivation. And so in the process, we need to bring in the justness of the transition by making sure that as we do the change, we do not leave anyone behind. What are we doing? In the meantime, we're also focusing on responsible use of our coal by continuously investing in technologies that ensure that we can introduce cleaner technologies for the coal plants that continue to run. From an environmental sustainability point of view, our commitment to the 2030 targets for emission reductions remain. We've chosen a pathway that is different from what was initially anticipated, and this is very consistent that each and every of the countries will have a pathway that is talking to the realities of its origins. There are some interests, economic interests at heart here that we need to balance with aspects of responsible production of energy. From an accessibility point of view, South Africa has some 5% to go still for universal access, and our thinking is to really drive for this by utilization of off-grid solutions and also making sure that in the process we achieve both access and also environmentally cleaner technologies. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. So this session is also almost coming to an end. I know there'll be much more detailed discussions a little bit later on, but really a final word in 20 seconds each, on 25 seconds each, on what your biggest hope for this summit, actually. It's almost like a call for action.
So I think with this meeting, all of us together, we can think about how creating the right conditions we can provide what we think we are having in Spain. We are delivering, we are becoming a renewable superpower economy, and that is very important. So I hope that today we can have more superpower countries coming into this pathway. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Prime Minister.
عفوا يعني سيبقى الوقود الأحفوري مصدر رئيسي وكبير من مصادر توليد الطاقة، وخصوصا فيما يخص الطاقة الكهربائية، إضافة إلى أنه هذا الوقود هو ليس فقط مصدر للطاقة ولكن هو مصدر لصناعات كثيرة وبالأخص الصناعات البتروكيماوية، فيجب أن يؤخذ هذا بنظر الاعتبار مع اهتمامنا الكبير بتوسيع الاستثمارات في موضوع الطاقة المتجددة وتقليل الانبعاثات الحرارية إن شاء الله.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you very much. I think for me, if I were to summarize, I think collaboration and partnership will be key. Role of government, the role of the private sector, the role of international associations are very important to be working closely together. And I will take the words actually of Dr. Fatih that numbers talk. I'm a firm believer in that, and even in terms of, from a government perspective, in terms of putting policies, in terms of fiscal regimes which are attractive for investors, and in terms of how we can work, whether in bilateral relations with other countries or with regional partners. Numbers always talk. Pragmatic, transparent, and highlighting synergies between the different parties always lead to a positive outcome, and I'm a firm believer in that, and I thank really the opportunity for being here in such an important event to discuss those matters. So thank you very much, and looking forward to being part of that energy provision to the world in peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For Malaysia, now energy is no longer about or confined to availability and affordability. We need, because of the evolving energy landscape, marked by renewable, digitalization, and also geopolitical volatility. We need what we call a more holistic and future-proof approach. So with that, we need to look into resilience, we need to look into sustainability, and also regional interdependence, the way forward. These will be the core pillars of the energy security. We also need to look as a forward-looking definition of energy security, must also address technology, access, cyber resilience, and also inclusivity of vulnerable group, in particular those who are in the rural and also remote areas. So this will be one of the areas that we need to look at. And I do agree with Fatih, diversification, the clarity in terms of policies and strategies will be one of the core areas, and cooperation and collaboration is the way forward if we were to move ahead with energy security. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Minister?
Mi esperanza es a que el mundo no retroceda en la discusión alrededor de la transición energética, que no volvamos al discurso de perforar, perforar y perforar, cuando hay una necesidad de salvar la humanidad del planeta y transitar hacia energías limpias. Mi esperanza es que se mire a Colombia como el corazón de Latinoamérica y que se mire a la región latinoamericana como una gran potencia de generación de energías limpias para descarbonizar no solamente el norte de nuestro continente, sino también todo el país. Mi esperanza es que se vea a Colombia como corazón de Latinoamérica, un país sin guerras, con estabilidad política, económica y con gran potencial de inversión extranjera alrededor de desarrollar grandes cantidades de energía limpia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for a wonderful panel. Thank you. So I'd love to invite now all the panelists to sit back down, because we're starting with our second panel. So our second distinguished panel of this opening session, let me please invite to the stage the Honourable Shirley Ayorkar Botwi, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, to join me here on stage. His Excellency Mr. Marc Ferracci, Minister for Industry and Energy of France. The Honourable Lisa Coumans, Minister of Energy and Business Development, Barbados. Mr. Tommy Joyce, the Assistant Secretary for International Affairs at the U.S. Department of Energy, and, of course, His Excellency Mr. German Galushenko, the Minister of Energy of Ukraine. So thank you so much. A round of applause maybe as they take their seats. We're just waiting for the water glasses to be replenished. Look, our first panel really focused on this whole of energy system approach to energy security, the interaction across fuels and parts of the energy system overall from different national and regional perspectives. Now we move on to the whole of security approach, namely how do we position and understand energy security into this broader energy security context, one that may include economic security, but also national security, food security, climate security, digital security, and beyond. So what are the broader aspects in general of energy security within the security world that we need to ensure to make sure that everything is considered and how best we achieve what we need? So let us start with the Secretary General. As we know, the Commonwealth has a very diverse range of more than 50 countries. When you come together to discuss energy issues, what are the main priorities and how do you fit them all in to the broader Commonwealth agenda? 3 minutes. Yeah, 3 minutes to start off, and I think the microphone should be on. Yes.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen. Let me thank Secretary Miliband and Dr. Birol for convening this important summit. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to contribute. Our subject could not be more important to me, to our Commonwealth family, and our shared future. Energy security is vital and it's complex. It's not simply about supply and demand. It's about resilience. It's about fairness. The Commonwealth, with 56 member states across every continent and ocean, lives this complexity every day. From energy-rich nations to small island developing states, from fast-growing economies to those still striving for universal energy access, we represent the full spectrum of the global energy story. Commonwealth's great strength and beauty lies in its combination of diversity and unity, and our heads of government have made their shared energy ambition clear. Our energy systems must be more secure, more sustainable, and more equitable. At the heart of this ambition is the recognition that energy is not just a commodity. It is the lifeblood of development. It powers our schools, our hospitals, enables innovation and industry, and opens the door to opportunity for millions. Yet today, perhaps more than ever, that lifeblood is threatened by geopolitical shocks, by climate change, by fractured supply chains and unequal access to technology and finance. And too often, the response to these threats has deepened inequalities rather than resolve them. Each one of us here knows that energy security must go hand in hand with climate action. And our clean energy transition must be a just one. It must deliver jobs, resilience, and prosperity in every region, not just a few. To achieve this, we need three things. First, a global commitment to cooperation over competition. True energy security is collective. No country is secure while others are left behind. Second, investment in people as much as in projects, building skills, technology, partnerships, and governance systems to empower nations to shape their own energy futures. This requires innovative approaches, including to financing. And third, a shared resolve to close the access gap so that energy security is not a privilege for some, but a guarantee for all. And I call this inclusive resilience. And it's a principle that can guide us in building a safer, cleaner, and fairer energy future for everybody. So thank you, and I look forward to the conversations.
Thank you so much, Secretary General. Let's now turn to Minister Fatih of France. Minister, what key factors must be considered to ensure that there are efforts, of course, for secure energy supplies, but also that enhances industrial strength and long-term economic performance?
Thank you very much. And one, thank you to Secretary Miliband and Dr. Birol for organizing this event. This is very, very important. Well, energy security is essential to our daily lives, essential to our economies, essential to our sovereignty. And what we discover right now is that the dependence to energy import in Europe is probably one of the greatest vulnerabilities we have. And in the scope of the competitiveness agenda, the autonomy challenges, Europe's fighting for its energy security appears to be one of the greatest challenges we have. What we see is that energy supply is used as a weapon. This is what we see right now. It's very clear in the light of the Russian aggression of Ukraine, with the deliberate disruption of gas trade. It's very clear when we see growing trade tensions on energy or on clean technologies. Gas trade is used as a bargain on global trade. Unfair trade practices are used to gain market dominance on clean technologies. So energy security is becoming a geopolitical tool, and Europe, because I think of this problem as a European, cannot ignore this and cannot play along the rules of a previous age. We need a European doctrine on energy security fit for the 21st century. And I think that this doctrine should address two issues. The first one is the issue of fossil fuels. As long as we remain massively dependent on fossil fuels, there will be no energy security for Europe. And I want to state this very clearly. We need to accelerate the phasing out of imported energy, and this means decarbonization and electrification. Decarbonization is not only a matter for fighting climate change. It's obviously very important, and France supports an increased effort at the European level for the 10 years of the Paris Agreement. But it's also a matter for job creation on clean industries. It's a matter for security. So we need to be less dependent. And electrification is also key. This is not a new story in France. In the oil crisis in the 70s, we launched a very big electrification plan with the construction of 13 nuclear plants. And we are facing similar challenges right now. And I think that we should have similar approaches, similar responses. The European Commission will be presenting its Repower Europe initiative in early May, and France expects this initiative to be a very ambitious plan to cut gas consumption at the European level. So we need some sort of a European Marshall Plan for electrification, and I hope that we will be able to deliver it. And the second and last issue is clean technologies. We also must be less dependent on imported technologies because otherwise there will be no energy security in Europe. We need to accelerate the strategic autonomy on clean technologies, and this actually is very much in line with the Draghi report and its recommendations. Europe must be an industrial leader, and this is what we support. It's very important that the Clean Industrial Deal set at the European level be very ambitious. And we have many tools. Now we need to use them, and we need to act as Europeans in order to achieve this autonomic strategy.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. And now let's turn to Minister Cummings. Minister, Barbados is, of course, exposed to extreme weather and climate changes and has historically been reliant on imported fossil fuels, but is also pursuing some pretty ambitious plans with domestic renewables. So how does this shape your perspective on what constitutes energy security for Barbados?
Thank you very much. I want to, of course, begin by thanking the government of the United Kingdom and of the IEA for hosting the summit today and for incorporating the voices of divergent types of countries. Barbados is a small island developing state. We are a developing economy, and for us, energy security looks very different than it does for different types of economies. And perhaps I can start by saying that I think that the speech introducing the IEA was perhaps one of the most significant things that started out the conversation, that framed where we have gone since then. The balancing between geopolitics. Barbados is on the receiving end of fossil fuel generation, in the sense that we are the country on the front line, one of the countries on the front line of sea level rise as a result of climate crises. We in the Caribbean, and I know that many of my Caribbean colleagues are not here today, and so I'm going to take the liberty to speak on behalf of the region as a whole, in particular given that my Prime Minister Motley, is, as we speak, or has just concluded climate talks in New York, and she is currently the chair of CARICOM in the region. Many of our countries are facing climate crises that we have not experienced before. Hurricanes, we are just beginning the hurricane season. Hurricanes are coming, they're faster, they're more violent, they're staying longer, and they're coming earlier in the season. And we've just begun the hurricane season, so we're waiting to see what comes next. So that's climate for us. You put that up against the energy transition for countries like ours. In 2024, Barbados imported over $1 billion in fossil fuels to be able to create electricity for the country. But simultaneously, on the energy transition side, and I am the minister with responsibility for that transition, we have ambitious targets. We are expecting that by 2030, 2035 as our outer limit, we are going to be in a position to be able to derive 100% of our electricity from renewable sources. Heavily dependent on that goal is our ability to get solar onboarded, wind onboarded, battery storage. That brings us back to IEA's opening comments. Geopolitical tensions then create energy insecurity for countries like ours. We do not produce the technologies. We do not produce the energy goods. We are not the producers of fossil fuels. We are the importers and the price takers and the ones who are on the front line of every single geopolitical crisis that is happening around us. So if there are difficulties with procuring solar panels or battery storage or wind turbines or energy technologies or with the research and development, Barbados's energy transition targets are on the front line as we are as a country with the climate crisis. And so that's the framing of the context for countries like ours. And so this summit is important for us, and it's the reason why we've traveled to be here, to be a part of the conversation, so that we never lose sight of what these conversations mean for countries who in a very real way, are very much on the front line of all of the geopolitical conversations and the geopolitical tensions that are currently wreaking havoc around the world right now and in this moment. And so we're very much looking forward to having a part of the framing of not just the conversation, but the outcomes that are going to be necessary. Three main things that we want to see coming away from here: access to technology and affordable financing. The Bridgetown Initiative is one of those initiatives that we have launched to be able to do that. Two, affordability. I believe that my colleague from Malaysia spoke about that as well. If we have the investment and the investment returns are guaranteed, we want to make sure that it is affordable for consumers at the end. And then third and finally, we want to be able to ensure that the energy mix that we are proposing, we have great partnerships with France. Now we're proposing to have our very first hydrogen plant there. We want to be able to see access to partnerships with our international industry partners to be able to have a diversified energy mix and diversified sources of the products and technologies coming from around the globe.
Thank you, Minister. Now, for the U.S. perspective with Mr. Joyce, prior to coming into office, the U.S. Energy Secretary, Wright, had highlighted the role of energy in bettering human lives, advocating for tackling energy poverty, and made the link between access to modern energy and progressing various forms of human development. How does that fit in with the current U.S. energy security priority?
Thanks, Francine, and thank you to the United Kingdom and the IEA for hosting this important event. Distinguished colleagues, there is no national or economic security without energy security. And energy security is not possible without access to secure, affordable, and reliable access to energy. Why? Because energy is essential to absolutely everything that we do. It's the one industry that undergirds all of the others. We know a highly energized society raises people out of poverty and brings health, wealth, and opportunity wherever it's found in abundance. And when and where their energy is scarce or restricted, humans suffer. Unfortunately, the focus during the last administration was on climate politics and policies leading to that scarcity. These policies have been embraced by many, not just in the United States, and harm human lives. This is why President Trump released a suite of energy-related executive orders to ensure our future is defined by energy growth and abundance, and reversing many of the political regulations from the prior administration and bringing back common sense to energy policymaking. The United States is blessed with abundant energy resources. We are the top oil, gas, and nuclear producer in the world, and we're the fourth largest coal producer. And since 2023, we've been the largest exporter of LNG. Despite this, some want to regulate every form of energy besides the so-called renewables, completely out of existence and in favor of a net zero agenda. We oppose these harmful and dangerous policies. This is not energy security, and we know exactly where it leads. The Biden administration tried to make Puerto Rico the net zero poster child. And they were supposed to be at 40% wind and solar this year and 100% soon thereafter. But after bolting on over about 30% of wind and solar, variable renewables, traditional grids begin failing, which is why experts are turning to modernized grid systems, which is really just a nice way of marketing an exponentially more expensive grid system in the trillions, not the billions of dollars. I'd be happy to explain why exactly that is in another panel, but the result is the same. We'd be trading one form of dependency for another, putting abstract emission goals in the interest of our adversaries first, and the security of our people last. A typical offshore wind turbine requires 4 tons of a permanent magnet made in the form of rare earth elements. And since China, the supplier of nearly all of them, restricted their sale, there are no wind turbines without concessions to or coercion from China. For true energy security, we must leverage all resources that are affordable, that are reliable, and that are secure. As Secretary of Energy Wright likes to say, it's about energy addition, not subtraction. And there's no world in which the demand for energy is going to decrease. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assistant Secretary Joyce. The messaging is pretty clear. Now let's also turn to Minister Galushenko. Thank you for being here. Ukraine has had to repair, protect, and rebuild the energy system at a speed and scale that most of us can actually not imagine. What is the situation today, and how are you trying to rebuild a stronger energy security for the future?
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you to the UK government and the IEA for this event. I think it's a very important topic, but probably I could give some other angle of this discussion. So we are operating the energy system 3 years during the full-scale invasion, but it's not only about the war, because the energy of Ukraine is constant target to Russia. They're attacking us non-stop and using all kinds of weapons they have. Mentioning the three main ideas about the energy security, which is predictability, cooperation, and possibility to diverse the supply. So I can tell you that in our situation, we do not have predictability, like zero. I would say that we have unpredictable situation because we do not know what energy facility would be hit today, tomorrow, whether it's generation, whether it's substation, or that is a gas production. And all figures which we calculated as like an idea to provide the energy security, unfortunately, they doesn't work in our situation. But what is very important that without the two other points, cooperation and possibility to diverse supply, we won't be able to survive. So we managed to survive in unpredictable situation. But without diversification of supply, it's almost impossible. And I think it's very important also to get this feeling that you should live in diversification of supplies. It not should be some emergency situation when you run for some other resources of supply. So that should be one of the key ideas for, all of us, to have the diversification in supplies, all resources which we need for the energy. The cooperation, that is what we need to survive, because we have a great example, I think, because 3 hours before the full-scale invasion we were disconnected from Russia and Belarus grids. And the cooperation which we had with our partners allowed us to be connected in 21 days to European energy system, and it's really provide us the possibility to have this energy security and security of supply and reserves in case of attacks, which we use all the times. And another point which is also very important in this context, that you should look to the mix of the energy from the also point of view of energy security, first of all. And now we have some new challenges because, for instance, we look now for decentralized generation as not only a security of supply, but that is also an issue of military risks, because we see that is decentralized generation is really more difficult targets to be attacked by thousands of missile drones, everything what is used to destroy the energy infrastructure. And one thing which is also important, and that's, I think that's, we have to understand that the energy security is very expensive task. We should know that we should not save money on energy security, because sometimes you could calculate these figures and think whether you need to spend money on some additional resources or for some interconnectors on something which brings more strength and resilience to the system. Yes, it's a very expensive task, but we have here first should be the security of supply, and security of supply to the people, to the industry, to be sure that the country would go on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. Thank you to all of our panelists. And just as before, we'll turn to industry participants in the audience to also get your perspective. So first up, let's turn to the incoming Chief Executive of SSE, Martin Pibworth, to get your perspective, sir. If you'd like to stand up so that the camera also catches you.
Thank you, Francine. Thank you to the UK government. Thank you to the IEA for inviting us to speak, and thank you for organising this important summit. I think the world of risk that we all operate in has been very well articulated by the panel, so I don't mean to go into too much on that. For us, the three things that help energy security very briefly are a mass rollout of renewables, which in the opening address is made very clear the world was already on that journey, and of course we support that within SSE. Secondly, we need grids to transport that, and we think the momentum behind grid build-out is improving. There's obviously a lot of discussion at COP in Baku about that, but also the possibilities of different country policies moving grids forward has also been well noted. And of course, here in the UK, as has already been mentioned, we're grateful to regulatory and political support to get grid moving and rolled out. The third issue I'd just like to put on the table, if I may, for energy security is the need for flexibility. I guess the UK market and the European market all learnt a German word last winter, Dunkelflaute, and the absence of wind and solar and the pressures that put on markets. It probably reminded us all that in a growingly intermittent system we do need to dispatch new flexibility, and it's probably not going to be enough for 2, 4, 8-hour batteries. We're going to need something else. Of course, demand side has a role to play in that. Of course, hydro and pump storage also have a big role to play in that. But I think ultimately we're going to have to look for new ways to put clean power flexibility in, and it's in the form of clean gas, and hydrogen and carbon capture are possibilities. I'd probably like to make the point that this probably isn't progressing anywhere in the world fast enough. We would like to see that accelerated, of course we would. The good news is, and I'm essentially an optimistic person, the good news is the technology is there. I think the risk appetite to deploy it is there. I think the investment money is also there. So this therefore becomes a policy and market design challenge. And because it's a policy and market design challenge, it becomes within our intellectual capabilities to resolve it. We think that means faster permitting, greater stability and certainty for investors, market frameworks that reward flexibility and low carbon reliability. But it also means, and this is probably my crucial closing point, we need to see time and the passing of time as a risk factor. The faster we go, the faster we get there, the faster we unlock new innovation, new technology, and better affordability consequences for economies around the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pibworth. Let's now turn to Urenco, the supplier of the nuclear industry, and its Chief Commercial Officer, Laurent Audet.
And thank you very much for having us. So energy security is no longer just about supply, it's about sovereignty and resilience as well. The evolving dynamics of the energy system call for decisive actions to deliver the fundamental changes required to achieve a fair, affordable, sustainable and secure clean energy system. That means we, public and private sectors, need to prioritize all the steps that will enable the delivery of a cleaner, cheaper energy generation whilst ensuring resilient system that delivers security of supply. In recognition of the expensive transformation required to the global energy network, nuclear energy provides a clear and strategic pathway to propel us on the route to energy security. Nuclear delivers reliable low-carbon baseload power that operates 24/7, and it also enhances the energy independence. So us, in the fuel cycle, we will be central to deploying this new nuclear and will provide access to diversified fuel supply that will strengthen national resilience as well as it reduces exposure to dependencies. At Urenco, we are investing in the capacity of all of our 4 sites in the world, in our 3 founding countries, the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, as well as in our largest market, the United States. That to meet increased customer demand, and we're also getting ready to fuel the reactors of tomorrow. So all of that requires a lot of collaboration between allied countries, most of them being here today, and we need your help to develop predictable political and regulatory framework that will secure the fuel supply chain for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's also turn to the CEO of UK Climate Change Committee, Ms. Emma Pinchbeck.
Yeah, I can stand up, thanks. I'm the Chief Executive of the Climate Change Committee. Useful knowing for this audience that I was the Chief Executive of the UK's energy trade body until last November. And with a statutory independent body, we exist to think about the long term beyond short-term politics. And there are 26 other organisations advising national governments like us around the world, including in Ukraine. Energy is obviously critical to delivering on our international climate commitments. We have just said we think 60% of UK emissions reduction to 2040 depends on electrification in the UK. But the good news is that we also said that we think that system is the cheapest for the UK, and it will insulate the UK economy from future fossil fuel price volatility. In other words, it's also good for national security. We also look right across the economy. So we know that the energy transition underpins wider security. For example, we cannot produce more food in the UK without greenhouses that are cheap to heat. We cannot build more factories in the UK without grid connections and cheap energy prices. So it's really right to focus on immediate security challenges, everything people have said, short-term affordability, energy access, certainly the risk around new global supply chains, new commodities, critical minerals, and recent political and geopolitical instability. But I think our plea would also be to think about security in the longer term, and to take Martin's point, to allow flexibility in that. We are going to need to bring forward new technologies, some of which we're not sure about, for example, long-duration storage, carbon capture, synthetic fuels, or flexibility. We've got AI coming through and new industries, and we're not sure what the demand profiles for those will be. We have the impacts of climate change, which we know will impact our infrastructure, but to what degree is still uncertain. And so it's necessary, we would say, to think about energy security for today's challenges, for this decade, but also for the 2040s and beyond. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Now, final comment from the floor. The CEO of Equinor, Mr. Anders Opedal. It's coming. Hold on tight.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you, Mr. Miliband and Fatih Birol, for inviting for this event. I'm the CEO of Equinor. We are the largest energy provider to Europe, particularly natural gas, and we're working really hard every day together with the Norwegian government and other energy providers in Norway to ensure that Norway is a safe and reliable provider of energy to Europe. I became COO of this company during COVID. And at that time, most of the energy discussion and energy system discussion was about decarbonization, and the cost of capital was really low. But already then, we saw some signs of underinvestment also in oil and gas, which was supercharged when we had the invasion in Ukraine. Now the cost of capital and the supply chain, all the cost is going up, so we see that the transformation of the energy system will be a little bit more costly. So what are the challenges I see that what we need to solve for solving the energy trilemma? Well, we do see an increasing polarization over energy policies. Different technologies are having different pros and cons, and there are different views on different technologies. We see cost increases, particularly cost of capital, but also on the supply chain. And we also know that the new energy over time need to have a lower CO2 carbon footprint. So from my perspectives, what would I like to see? Well, I would like to see broad political compromises around technologies in the energy system. Because as a long-term investors, and we investing around $12 to $13 billion in energy projects around the world every year, and with polarization, then that will limit predictability for our investments. The second point I would like to make is pragmatism. Here in the UK, for every dollar we invest in oil and gas, we also invest $2 into renewables, CCS, gas to power, etc. But I do think that this dollar of investments in oil and gas is also needed both in Europe and UK to ensure that we have a balanced energy transition. To sum up, broad political compromises over the energy transition and pragmatism to ensure a balanced energy transition. That is what I see is needed going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we've just heard from major energy companies and organizations operating across all different parts of the energy system: renewable, thermal generation grids, nuclear supply chains, climate governance, oil and gas, and energy storage. Now let's get back to our panel. We do have a couple of minutes, so you have about a minute each. If you could push, Secretary General, for one priority or one outcome that you want to see from this summit, something concrete, to make sure that our approach to ensuring energy security is better in the future than it is today, what would that be?
Thank you very much. Let me say that one thing we should never lose sight of is the fact that energy security is about people. It's about the well-being of people. And for me, serving the 2.7 billion Commonwealth population, it's about education, it's about healthcare, it's about industry, it's about job creation. And therefore, when consumer countries and the private sector go into countries to provide energy security, they need to ensure that they do not leave these countries without development. And we see a lot where minerals are extracted and yet there's no development for these countries and they remain insecure energy-wise. Access is important. Affordability is also extremely important. And we must ensure that we have the people-centered approach to everything that we do, especially the private sector, and I know there are a lot of them here. We need to be very responsible and ensure that we leave no one behind, because it is about people and not about technology and not about infrastructure.
Thank you so
much. Thank you.
Minister.
Yeah, I quite agree. Very much agree. I think that our priority should be to achieve energy security through dispatchable energy mix. We need some complementarity. I think that complementarity is a key word, complementarity between energies. And if I should illustrate this with the French example, we have a strategy in order to achieve energy security, which is based on mainly renewables and nuclear. It's very important to achieve this complementarity because nuclear energy is key to provide affordable baseload production to the system, and it also reduces system costs, and it provides services to the whole network. In the long term, we will need more nuclear power. In the short term, we also need more renewable. That is the base, the core of our strategy. Renewables are essential because they provide electricity at a very competitive cost right now and in the short term. So this complementarity is essential, and I think that it gives predictability if we achieve some planification. And our whole strategy is based on an exercise of planification, which will be published in the next few weeks for the years to come. I think that we need to conclude, to act very quickly, and this has been said. We need to achieve technology gains and all sorts of results, but we need to act very quickly with a long-term vision.
Thank you so much, Minister. Your priority for the summit in 1 minute. Minister Carmen, yes.
I'd like for us to walk away from here at the end of this summit with some clarity on how technology advances and technology innovations could benefit small island developing states and developing economies that are not the originators of the technology. Our colleague, when he spoke just now, he talked about becoming COO of the company during COVID. During COVID, many of the countries in Secretary General COMSEC, we had the African Medical Services Platform, where countries in the Caribbean and in Africa, the developing world, developed a platform that allowed for countries that were on the front line at the time of the pandemic to be able to have access to therapeutics and medical equipment. Energy security for our country now requires us to partner with the developed partners, with industry, with the technology implementers and the technology developers to be able to ensure that small island developing states and developing countries have access to the technology and the innovations that help us to achieve energy security.
Thank you so much, Assistant Secretary.
Thank you. So my hope for this summit is that when we're defining energy security, first, we remember God's golden rule, and that is that we should love our neighbor as ourselves. and that there are still 7 billion people out there that don't have what you have. They don't experience rooms like this. And that we should do our best to get out of their way and to let them lift themselves out of poverty, especially through affordable energy and access to financing through multilateral institutions like the World Bank. That we also realize that energy abundance results in prosperity for our people, and it results in peace abroad. That there are adversaries out there, and we need to protect our critical infrastructure from malign actors, stabilize our grids, and prepare to operate through a disruption. And this is a quote from the DNI 2025 threat assessment. As China is, we need to prepare to operate through a disruption as China is already pre-positioned for cyber strikes designed to deter military action by impeding decision-making and including societal panic. End quote. My hope is that here at the summit, with allies and partners gathered, we can discuss these issues pragmatically, just as the Lord Admiralty did when shifting the British Royal Navy to faster oil-powered vessels. We too can shape a future for energy security that is honest about the world's growing energy needs, not focused on net zero politics, nor does it restrict energy financing for developing countries in need of growth. And it doesn't burden energy producers with ESG policies. Because ultimately, energy security isn't the responsibility of any one of us, but it's the responsibility of all of us here gathered in this room. We all must be ready to take the actions needed to ensure the prosperity and peace that comes with the bounty of secure, affordable, and reliable access to energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister Galushenko.
I just think about several points. First of all, of course, very important that when you have the access to the energy or you have affordable prices, the energy system should be resilient as it is separately from the access to the resources. And that is, we feel it's, and of course it's about the people, because we had one day, it was 23rd of November 22, when we almost have the total blackout of the country after another massive attack to the energy infrastructure. And of course, you could imagine when people are living without electricity supply for days. And that is really a challenge, of course, to understand that the resilience of the system is also very important from the other aspects, like how you protect or how you ensure that this operate in some extraordinary conditions. But one thing which is also very important to mention concerning the energy security, that is cyber security in the energy, because what we had in Ukraine before each massive attacks to the energy infrastructure, we had 1 week or a week before very heavy cyber attacks to the energy infrastructure, which aim to destroy the system before the attacks of the weapon. That's why I think that the cyber security is one of the key tasks to be key elements in the energy security, I mean, to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists. Before I let everyone go, I just have 20 seconds to conclude, of course, this plenary sessions, and we're also concluding the summit live stream. Now, for those of you following us on live stream, please rejoin at 2:45 p.m. It's actually changed. That's when we'll have keynote speeches from the UK Prime Minister and the European Commission President. Now, for those of you here in London with me, we move to the coffee break, and then the first breakout session starting at 11:25. Please do arrive on time, as there's a lot of work to be done. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you both.
What have you experienced on board?
Well, it's incredible to be on board the Carrier Strike Group and to see the incredible capability. We all know that the world is more uncertain than it felt a few months or years before. We're in a new era, and that's why we've doubled down on defence spending as a government, but also to come and see the Strike Group as it starts its journey, a really important journey, bringing together thousands of personnel across the group from many different countries, a real statement to our adversaries of UK leadership on global issues, on security and defence, but also a real show of unity with our allies, particularly our NATO allies that we're working with. And an opportunity for me to say as Prime Minister, thank you to the personnel on board doing complicated, skilled, professional, challenging work, to say thank you on behalf of the government, but also thank you on behalf of the country. There are millions of people who would love to be here to say thank you to the very many people that are involved in this endeavour.
What is the significance of Britain being seen to be leading a deployment of this magnitude?
I think it's hugely important for the UK to play a leading role, as we are playing on this deployment, because it shows our capability, it shows our sense of global leadership on defence and security, but also on trade and the economy. We're a free trading nation. This is a mission that's going to go across the entire world, down to the Indo-Pacific as well. So it's a UK sense of our leadership, a message to our adversaries, but also an important UK message to our allies about the way that we work with our allies in what we do on defence and security. So I'm very proud of what all the teams are doing here.
This question focused on the southwest now. With the
that before in an interview.
No, it's the first for everything. Yeah. Because I think I can only ask one more, but apart from the recent announcement of the military homes.
Oh yeah, should I try and wind that in?
I'll ask a question about kind of investment within the southwest.
I'll wind the boat.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
With the increased defence spending budget, what investment will Plymouth and the South West be seeing?
Yeah, well, the increased defence spending is the highest sustained increase since the Cold War, and that's necessary for our security and our defence as a country, but really important that is measured and felt in good, secure, well-paid jobs across the country. The South West has a particular contribution here because of the specialisms and the capabilities that it has. And I'd just like to say thank you to all of those that are involved in the South West, because a lot of the capability you're seeing on board here, it represents the hard work of skilled professionals in those jobs. I want SMEs, small companies in the supply chain also to play their part. So the South West has, you know, my thanks and my gratitude to what they're doing to, if you like, support the front line, which we are seeing displayed here in the teams. And I think there's also an element here of making sure that our service personnel have the facilities and the backup that they need, which is why I'm really pleased that we've been able to take the measures we have, for example, in the South West on housing for our military, to make sure that there's good, secure housing, taking stock back into public ownership, so we can provide the sort of backup that they deserve and that they're entitled to.
When will the homes be built?
Well, we're already taking them back into public ownership, and so those homes now will be there for members of our military, and that's really important, a good, secure home. And that's part of the wider contribution. Of course, last year there was the highest pay award for our service personnel for many, many years, again to represent the service that they give our country, particularly at this time of global instability. Thank you.
And at the front where the big toilet seats sitting out.
What have you experienced on board?
Well, it's incredible to be on board the Carrier Strike Group and to see the incredible capability. We all know that the world is more uncertain than it felt a few months or years before. We're in a new era, and that's why we've doubled down on defence spending as a government, but also to come and see the Strike Group as it starts its journey, a really important journey, bringing together thousands of personnel across the group from many different countries, a real statement to our adversaries of UK leadership on global issues, on security and defence, but also a real show of unity with our allies, particularly our NATO allies that we're working with. And an opportunity for me to say as Prime Minister, thank you to the personnel on board doing complicated, skilled, professional, challenging work, to say thank you on behalf of the government, but also thank you on behalf of the country. There are millions of people who would love to be here to say thank you to the very many people that are involved in this endeavour.
What is the significance of Britain being seen to be leading a deployment of this magnitude?
I think it's hugely important for the UK to play a leading role, as we are playing on this deployment, because it shows our capability, it shows our sense of global leadership on defence and security, but also on trade and the economy. We're a free trading nation. This is a mission that's going to go across the entire world, down to the Indo-Pacific as well. So it's a UK sense of our leadership, a message to our adversaries, but also an important UK message to our allies about the way that we work with our allies in what we do on defence and security. So I'm very proud of what all the teams are doing here.
This question focused on the southwest now. With the
that before,
no, it's the first for everything. Yeah. Because I think I can only ask one more, but apart from the recent announcement of the military homes.
Oh yeah, should I try and wind that in?
I'll ask a question about kind of investment within the southwest.
I'll wind the phone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
With the increased defence spending budget, what investment will Plymouth and the southwest be seeing?
Yeah, well, the increased defence spending is the highest sustained increase since the Cold War, and that's necessary for our security and our defence as a country, but really important that that is measured and felt in good, secure, well-paid jobs across the country. The Southwest has a particular contribution here because of the specialisms and the capabilities that it has. And I'd just like to say thank you to all of those that are involved in the Southwest, because a lot of the capability you're seeing on board here, it represents the hard work of skilled professionals in those jobs. I want SMEs, small companies in the supply chain also to play their part. So the Southwest has, my thanks and my gratitude to what they're doing to, if you like, support the front line, which we are seeing displayed here in the teams. And I think there's also an element here of making sure that our service personnel have the facilities and the backup that they need, which is why I'm really pleased that we've been able to take the measures we have, for example, in the Southwest on housing for our military, to make sure that there's good, secure housing, taking stock back into public ownership, so we can provide the sort of backup that they deserve and that they're entitled to.
When will the homes be built?
Well, we're already taking them back into public ownership, and so those homes now will be there for members of our military, and that's really important, a good, secure home. And that's part of the wider contribution. Of course, last year there was the highest pay award for our service personnel for many, many years, again to represent the service that they give our country, particularly at this time of global